Hello, hello. Good evening to the one person watching live. Pop up in the chat. Pound for pound boxing. Hope you're still here. Just had to get myself comfortable before we get this show on the road. It's good to have you here, as always. Pilot on crack. Good evening. Good evening to you both. How's this Monday evening treating you guys? Bear with me, guys. Just waiting for the man himself, Mr. Boxing on the Edge, to respond to my message. So I don't really want to get started without him, of course. So good enough for some boxing chat. Yeah, that's it. Always got to make time for boxing talk. Very well, thank you. How about yourself? Yeah, pound for pound, I can't complain. To be fair, cannot complain. I'm actually kind of working my way through a research proposal right now, so that's pretty interesting. Because I'm pretty sure you guys probably know TMT. How you doing, my friend? We're just talking about how our day's going. Hope you're having a good one. Yeah, so I'm doing a research proposal right now, because I'm still at university, so I've only got like less than a month left of this term, but just got like my last couple of assignments I'm working through. But yeah, thankfully there's a lot of boxing to talk about, so we're gonna have a busy one. Okay, Mr. Boxing on the Edge should be on his way soon. He's just replied to my message. But yeah, other than that, I'm just looking forward to having a good chat with you guys. As I say, there's a lot to talk about. And of course, have something a little bit different today. We're going to have a special guest. So TMT, are you in your last year then? If you're doing a thesis in history as well, that must be a heavy subject. Okay, here he is. Hello, how you doing, my friend?
I'm good, bro. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. We're just talking about our days in the chat. Obviously, it's a Monday.
Okay.
Yeah. How's your day going?
My day's good, mate. Yeah, it's nice and sunny here in New York. I just went for a run. It's been a lovely
Yeah.
day so far. Yeah.
So in New York, are you what, 5 hours behind?
Yeah, it's
5 hours.
2 past 2 here.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, 5 hours back. So, how about you? You're in London, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just about to turn 7:10 here, but it's nice because it's like
Yeah.
it's evening, but it's bright.
Yeah.
It's got that spring vibe now.
Absolutely. Yeah. Warms the soul.
It does. It makes all the difference.
Is that pound for
Um,
pound in the chat? Shout out to pound for pound. Shout out to
Yeah,
all
I think he's here every
the whole
stream
chat.
without fail.
Yeah, big time, big time. Always commenting. Respect to you, bro.
Yeah, he's always there to G us up, just like Devon.
TMT as well. Is Dev in the house already?
I don't think so. I don't think
Yeah.
so. It's still a little bit early. Okay, so yeah, we're about 10 minutes in, and obviously we actually have an audience, so we've got someone to talk to. Obviously this isn't going to be like too structured. Obviously there's a lot of boxing that we had on the weekend, and even more coming up in the the next couple of weeks. So I figured, the chat will give us some questions. We can both answer them, but then
Yeah.
we can also talk about any developments you want. I'm easy.
Yeah, definitely. There's you texted me earlier, forgetting about the Ugas fight. There's also Conor Ben's fighting this weekend as well.
Yeah, I remember that.
There's so much boxing on lately. It's great. There's been so many fights on, and there's so many more to come. It's hard to keep up.
Yeah, that's it. Like April has just been an absolutely stacked month.
Yeah.
And I think I have a good feeling about Whyte versus Fury. I think that's going to be a real good way to top off the month.
Yeah, feeling as in like good fight or just a big event?
Both. I genuinely think it's going to be just a back and forth war, probably a fight of the year candidate.
Okay.
I could be wrong. I hope I'm not. But
well, look, it's fascinating, isn't it? Because I mean, obviously, I'm sure we'll get into it in a little bit, but it's hard to say. Like, obviously, Whyte's completely MIA, and gauging both camps and where they're at. It's like, I at the moment, I really heavily favour Fury, to be honest.
Wow.
Quite heavily, yeah. I think he might even come in and try and do exactly what he said he was going to do and fight him like Wilder and put him on the back foot and try and take him out. We'll see. It's intriguing.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's done this to Fury. Obviously, I can't remember the last time a fighter just no-showed for the whole, press conferences and stuff. I mean, I'm sure Fury's done it actually, hasn't he?
I believe so.
But to him, like, the mental battles are obviously stagnant for him, and he usually wins that. So it's just really weird, kind of harder to gauge what's going on with these guys. So, but I'd heavily favour Fury. But like I said, I'm sure we'll talk about it in depth a bit later.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up, because I was actually going to ask, what's your opinion on? I don't want to say Whyte's strategy, but his actions or lack thereof so far, because it is intriguing, as you say.
I know. Well, look, I think Fury's so good at the mental games. Like, I think if you don't give him some, that opportunity for him to beat you, then it's essentially a stalemate, isn't it? Like, mentally. But then, is it a sign of weakness that you're not showing up and you're already conceding to his mental, like, game? I don't know. It could be a genius plan. We'll see. We'll soon see. But I think it's certainly pissing them off.
Yeah.
Like, it's certainly getting under their skin, and they've definitely got some sort of plan. They're not doing it for just because they're pissed off either. I think there's some emotion behind it for sure. But I don't know, man. It's interesting. What do you think?
Well, hold on a second. I'm just going to say shout out to G-Man, because he's joined the chat as well. So
G-Man in the house.
Yeah.
Big up.
I wonder if we can get the whole brotherhood in. I think we just got Hatman and Chris to join.
I know.
Also, okay, pound for pound, I'll come back to your question. But yeah, regarding Whyte, I wanted to kind of think over it for a while, but now this is just my interpretation. I think the longer Whyte keeps this up, the better chance I give him, because when I see what Whyte's doing, I think you have to really consider the character of both guys.
Yeah,
as you alluded to, because with Whyte, for most of the time he's a no nonsense kind of guy. So he doesn't really do things just for the sake of doing them. I think he's an experienced pro. He's not really scared of anyone. He's not hiding, as I think some people are accusing him of. I think he understands, because we know Whyte. He's a pretty sharp guy mentally. Everyone.
Yeah.
They hear the things he says and what he said, or how he says it, and they kind of, I don't know, they get this impression that he's a dummy or he's not particularly sharp, but he is. He's a very savvy guy.
I think he's up to something. I do think there's a sort of purpose behind this behavior. So
I think, and that's what I think. I don't think Whyte is doing this for no reason.
No, definitely.
I believe that he's familiar with Tyson Fury. He knows that Tyson, he needs something to get going, because we see that even with an opponent that Tyson Fury has had a bit of back and forth with in the past in Wilder, when it came that third time around for the third fight, Wilder didn't give Fury anything to work with, or very little relative to the
That's
first
true. Yeah,
fight.
that's true. And they might have actually taken something from that, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
because he had his headphones on a little bit, and he was Malik Scott was doing most of the talking, and that you could argue that worked in their favor, because Wilder's not very good. That would have been a recipe for disaster, him getting into the mind games of Fury. So perhaps they've seen something from that, and like I said, like it's hard to beat him. Let alone, just Fury's a master at it, bro. He's been doing it so long. He's been in bigger fights for longer. So, he's just loves the stage, all that plays in the part. He's the A side, he's the champ, so it's more fuel for him to feed off. And, like I said, I think it's just pissing them off. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it is interesting. I'm sure people aren't really that thrilled about it, but I think it's another layer of intrigue to this fight. Well, I wonder if he actually has to show up to one of the press conferences. It'd be a shame if you missed them all. But is he going to show up to the final one?
When's but that's the thing. People are asking.
Next week.
People are asking, what is Whyte obligated to turn up to?
Right. Yeah, there must be some legal loopholes that they're exploiting, or something like that. Because
realistically, like, I just want you to like kind of imagine this in your head. Imagine if Whyte doesn't have to turn up to any press conferences, and imagine, because he's a heavyweight,
just shows up at the weigh-in.
Imagine if he doesn't even have to do that.
I mean, that's like, I don't know.
Or at least
that's crazy. Has that ever happened? Has that ever happened in a fight when they've never shown up to any press conferences?
I don't think so. I know there have been fights where, say, the press conference or the fighters haven't seen each other until fight week, because I think Kovalev versus Anthony Yard was like that. Because do you remember there was like, is it going to happen or isn't it?
Yeah,
fight week, and
I do remember that. Why was that? Because that was in Russia. Wasn't there some weird shenanigans going on in Russia as well? Or was that just the way that they did it?
I think it was just the way it was organized.
Yeah,
like Frank Warren, he has a bit of a history of announcing fights before they've even been signed.
Right, and here's him now getting like the absolute hump with Whyte when he's probably he's just Frank Warren's. It's hilarious watching how stressed out. I don't really watch him anymore, but like a few clips here and there. God, he looks so pissed off.
His eyes pop out of his head even more than usual.
Oh man.
Yeah. Well, just to go back to what I was saying, because Whyte's a heavyweight, and I don't know if contractually you have to weigh in at the same place on the same time as your opponent. Maybe if it's the same day, that's enough. I'm not privy to the rules and regulations.
Yeah, because they don't have to make weight. Technically, they don't have to technically even weigh in, do they? Really?
There you go. Because you've seen heavyweights, they weigh in with whatever clothes they want.
Right. Yeah.
Imagine if Whyte can just weigh in like his hotel room, maybe, as long as a member of the board's there. And then
I never thought of that. It's certainly a possibility. I mean, I don't know. There's got to be some legal they have to legally show up, surely, to promote the fight. On the day of the weigh-in, surely.
Who knows? Because imagine if Whyte was able to do that, and then the first time him and Fury are together is when Whyte's making his way to the ring or something. That's you'd have to imagine, like, if you're the opponent and you haven't, or you're Tyson Fury and you haven't seen your opponent for weeks.
Yeah. It's hard to gauge. That's what I mean. He's got no time to size him up, no time to look in his eyes, no time to see any sort of notice of the body shape that's may or may not change. All these things are massive when you're up close and personal and you're staring at another man's eyes. That tells you a lot about where they are.
Yeah,
and that's nowhere.
Yeah, how can Tyson Fury prepare to fight someone who, as you say, he hasn't sized up?
Yeah.
Maybe it fills the Tyson Fury team with uncertainty.
Well, that's or it could do the other thing too. It could piss them off so much and fight, fuel him even more. And you don't want to take any chances. I mean, look, I think he's going to come. I think they're both going to come in great shape, actually. Yeah, I don't know. G-Man, can you shed some light on it? Has that ever happened before? Has anybody ever not shown up? Is there? What's the legalities behind that, bro?
Yeah, G-Man, if you want to put that in the chat, and I'll just catch up with some other messages. Yes, Jordan Anderson.
Big up Jordan Anderson, mate.
Listening on the way home on the district line. Okay. I mean, it's good you're on the district line and not the central line. I think district line's a bit more comfortable.
Well, what's that? Is that the one? Which one's the district line? Is that the? Which direction does that go in London?
It goes from kind of Upminster through to West London, I believe.
Okay. It's a bit like the 2 train. If you hear a train go like in the mic over here, because there's a 1 and 2 train that goes right there, and you can hear it in the videos that I do. So it's coming right now, actually. Maybe you can't hear it; it's too far. But anyway,
yeah. This is not a train live stream or underground. It's boxing. Let's stay on topic.
True.
Pilot on crack. Can you really call it a win? Talking about Whyte and what he's doing with Fury, I imagine. Last time it bothered him, he almost got knocked by Wilder, who easily beat him in the previous fight. Okay. I'm not sure.
Is it? I think he's talking about the mental games on the third one. Like,
yeah,
is that what you're talking about? Referring to him?
I imagine so.
Yeah, I think maybe not a win, but just like minimizing what Fury is good at doing. Basically, if you start getting caught up into the back and forths and you start releasing your energy, and he's trying to goad you in, that's what he's trying to do. So in some respects, it was a bit of a win because he didn't allow himself to dance with Fury, essentially. So
yeah, and he certainly did better in the third fight. Wilder, he did better in the third fight than he did in the second.
Especially early. He had a game plan. He was like, he had some success. Certainly did better, but I think he was just trying to focus and stay, with the game plan, which was obviously don't get into Fury's mental battles, because he's going to try and goad you in. And that's like, if you can minimize that, and which he definitely did, and then you got to take that as a small victory, I would say.
Yeah, I think you can really see it in Tyson Fury's behavior in the lead up, like fight week alone, because you could tell the weigh in, and even just before the first bell went, he was really trying to G himself up and get himself in the mood for a fight, because like I feel like Fury's attitude kind of reflected the public's attitude, where, oh yeah, it's a good fight, but it's something we've seen before. Like, it's not the one we all want.
Yeah.
And he had a bit of a flat performance. You could see it in his physique. You could see it.
Yeah, he definitely wasn't like as prepared as he was in the second one. You could see his body type was more he looked like far stronger in the second one, just mentally dialed in, and he was just like a bit of an animal, a bit of a beast. I think that was one of his best performances.
Yeah, it was. He didn't really put a foot wrong.
No.
Okay, Pilot on Crackers just replied, can you call it a win for Fury, not for Whyte? In my opinion, this is the best thing Whyte can do, stay silent. So yeah, Pilot on Crack, I agree, it is the best thing he can do. I don't know if you, Henry, called it a win for Fury, but I think you just kind of provided the perspective of how someone could maybe interpret it as a win for Fury. I don't know. Talk for you, of course.
Yeah, no. I'm trying to fully understand the question. So this press conference being silent, did I say it was a win for Fury? Mate, I said it might be, but then again, it might not be, because I don't know how he's going to react. But I would say it wouldn't be a win for Fury, because he likes to engage and wind his opponents up. So if you don't give him that opportunity, then he can't battle with you. But at the same time, it could drive him into, a darker, deeper level of whatever energy he's going to tap into in the training camp. I don't know. We'll
Yeah, I
see.
think realistically, it's one of those things that we won't really know until the fight's done and dusted, because then we can look back in retrospect.
The weigh-in could be quite electric, couldn't it? Really, if
Yeah.
if they're the first time they've seen each other, and it's a mystery as to what kind of shape Whyte's in, and then they're just there. And I'll probably expect Whyte to even show up in headphones at the weigh-in as well. To be honest, if he does, just to completely eliminate any mind games back and forth.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's interesting, and
It is.
we don't have long left. We've got what,
No,
12
next week.
days.
I know.
So I'll just finish up on this topic with Jordan's message saying, "Love seeing Frank upset." I think we all do. We all do, Jordan. That's
Hilarious, man.
that's
It's hilarious.
the only reason why you tune in to a Frank Warren interview. It's not to get any insight. It's to see him do his shoulder roll and put the middle
Oh, God,
finger
that
up.
shoulder roll is just. You mean where he just pops his chest
Yeah,
back like that?
the shoulder roll.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just want to switch gears then, because I feel like we've kind of addressed the Whyte
Yeah.
Fury saga for now.
Mhm.
Just to review the weekend's boxing. So we had Golovkin versus Murata. I think that's maybe the main talking point. Fundora versus Lubin, and Ryan Garcia versus Tago, I believe his name is. So those three fights. Which one do you want to start with?
Well, yeah, I guess I didn't watch all of them in their entirety, because by that point, I woke up super early to watch the Triple G fight, which I watched all of it. I watched the fights, but I wasn't. I kind of let's start with the Garcia one, I guess.
Okay.
It's a bit fresher in memory. Because I had both of them on. There was so many fights. ESPN had a card as well, so I had like the Zone, ESPN Plus, a little bit, and Showtime as well. But Garcia, he just came straight out the gate. I did think he was going to stop the dude in about 3 or 4 rounds, because it was a bit of a mismatch, but he was just on the run, wasn't he, to go a little bit from what I was seeing. And Garcia was just seemed to be rushing his work and smothering himself a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't really, after about 4 or 5 rounds, I just think this is just going to be the same thing, And then I switched over to the Lubin fight.
Yeah.
What do you think of the Garcia fight?
So, like you, to be fair, the Golovkin fight was the only one I watched through in its entirety. The other one, I caught a lot of the Fundora Lubin fight. The Garcia fight was the one I caught the least of. But from what I did see, as you say, Tago was just super negative.
Yeah, and you could tell like he was going to do that throughout the whole fight. It was just some of those fights, you know that it's just going to be this the whole way through. And I mentioned a pre-fight, I was like, doesn't look like he has much power, and he was just moving around. But Garcia seemed to have like struggled a little bit, sort of abandoning his jab, and he was just trying to throw power shots. Again, I didn't watch the whole fight, but I kind of knew that it was going to go 12 after about 5 or 6, because I just to go, you can't fight somebody that doesn't want to fight. It's really frustrating.
I don't want to be too harsh on Garcia, because plenty of fighters, like all-time great fighters, Mike Tyson comes to mind. Sometimes they're just in with someone negative, and even the great Mike Tyson, Bone Crusher Smith, terrible fight. To a lesser extent, James Tillis, because Tillis actually engaged with him at certain points. But yeah, with Garcia though, and I want to kind of link this to pound for pound, because he's asking.
Shout out to Chris Andre in the house. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, Chris. How you doing, my friends? Pound for pound says, is Garcia progressing like he should be at the moment? And I'm going to say no, because obviously he's been out the ring for a while, seems to have had some issues. But I think with Garcia, from what I've seen of him, he has a lot of potential, but I'm not sure if he's being guided the right way.
He just changed trainer as well. He had a few issues like outside the ring and just changing trainers and all this sort of drama with Canelo and Reynoso and stuff and inactivity. So, and he wasn't in there with someone that he could really look good against if he was being negative. So it's hard. It's quite hard to say, but I don't know. I'd love to see him in there with a better fighter, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you'd hope for that much, and it was quite frustrating when I know he was scheduled to fight. Was it Corrales? Or is it Corrales or
I don't know.
Because there were two fights.
Diaz? You talking about before this?
I think the Diaz fight was the first one, and then he pulled out of it, and then there was another fight which was Fortuna. I think it's Fortuna.
Okay, and Javier Fortuna, is that?
Yeah, him.
He's an awkward fighter as well. That's not a great match.
Yeah, he's a handful. He's like you're gonna have a rough fight against him.
It's annoying. He's a southpaw, isn't he? Or if he's not, he's got a very tricky, crafty style, from what I remember, and he doesn't love engaging either. I haven't seen a load of him, but that's quite a tricky fight to look good against as well.
But I think Ryan Garcia, for my money, was on a good trajectory. You know, when he knocked out Fonseca, and I think there was the fight either before or after that, because he was cleaning these guys out and he wasn't just rushing in. He was setting up good shots. He had the Campbell fight, which I thought he was going to lose, and he almost did. Yeah.
Well, shout out to Devin Sinclair, who actually predicted a 7th round body shot, didn't he? Do you remember that?
I think I do.
He said he's going to stop him in the 7th in a body shot, and he did. But he looked. I think that was one of his better performances.
Because he showed grit and he showed the ability to set up punches. Yeah, it could be a bit more refined, but he still got the job done.
Definitely.
But just to move on to Chris's question, yes, boys, we've got how many members? 4 members of the Boxing Brotherhood. We just need one more. I actually thought Tego would be better or would do better. He's got really fast feet, and I knew he could lure Ryan in. But he looked to freeze. He actually looked scared. Ryan must be imposing in there. Yeah, Ryan Garcia, he looks like a big guy.
His speed and power are pretty freakish, just to be honest. Like that, and he's very tall. He's lanky. He's probably quite a nightmare to deal with, and Tago's a lot smaller. So I'm sure there was that intimidation factor because, I mean, he's just got naturally gifted, speed and power.
Yeah,
that is quite frightening, when you're facing that. I can imagine.
You can't let the baby face fool you because let's be real, he looks like he's 15 years old, but he hits like a mule, especially with the left hook.
Yeah.
And I remember watching the Garcia Campbell fight, and I was shocked at the size difference because you associate Campbell with being a fairly, tall and lanky lightweight, but he was the shorter man, the smaller man against Ryan Garcia, and it was a bizarre sight.
Yeah. But he definitely, give him a inactivity and stuff, and like I said, all the sort of mini drama outside the ring. He seems a bit unstable at times too. I think the whole social media thing isn't a good thing for him.
I think he's a bit of a typical millennial in that respect, because you see Canelo, who he's older than Garcia, but not by too much, because Canelo's still a young man himself, but he understands the graft. And even if you look at the other fighters like Martinez, I'm not going to say Andy Ruiz because I think he's just as bad. Who else is in that camp?
Frank Martinez. Sanchez is there, isn't he?
Frank Sanchez. Yeah, these are all guys who.
Oscar Valdez.
Good you're here to jog my memory. These are all guys who, they've had their own controversies, but they put the graft in. They're never guys who you really see out of shape. They're always
definitely. Well, also I think there could be an ego thing too. If you're like Garcia and you're going in there, you might be, second or third on the pecking order. I don't know how. You're not the man in the gym. You don't have the exclusivity of your trainer whenever you want it and stuff like that. I don't know. I'm sure there's politics within that gym. I don't know if he speaks Spanish either. Does he even speak Spanish?
I'm not sure.
Because most of those dudes do.
Yeah.
which could be a little barrier as well.
Yeah, but that's a good point because, you could ask the question, how are you supposed to be the best in your division and beat your rivals when you're not even the standout in your gym, or at least
Yeah.
at least trying to keep up with the other guys in your gym? Because that's when that kind of gym camaraderie it's useful because
Yeah.
you have team members who keep you accountable.
Well, also, Victor Ortiz had a little stint in there, and there was I think know exactly what happened, but I think it was a similar thing. They weren't getting the right sparring or something like that, and they weren't getting the time they really wanted, and that's going to happen when you're in
Mm.
a gym with all these not heavyweight. Canelo's obviously a heavyweight, but champions and stuff like that. You're not the first in line. You're not the top
Yeah, you
boy.
got to earn it.
So
You
it
got to
could
prove
be,
you're worth the time.
yeah. And then it's just the reality of the situation. So you need, and the same thing they said that happened in the Garcia. He was with Robert Garcia, and they couldn't quite get the right sparring, and so who knows. But I think Ryan Garcia seems like he needs the full attention. you
Yeah,
know, especially given how popular he is and stuff like that.
yeah. I think he's got some maybe as you suggested, some ego issues that he should address and kind of
Mm,
bring himself back down to earth. Because just because you're a superstar on Instagram,
yeah.
nobody cares about that in the ring. If anything, they're going to be gunning for you because
Excuse me.
they want
Yeah.
your millions of fans to see you flattening Ryan and Garcia,
Yeah.
and then they hit the big time potentially.
Yeah, then I'd be interesting. I see, not to jump in on your stream, pound for pound, ask the question, who would you like to see Garcia in with next? And I was just thought straight away, well, Jojo Diaz.
Yeah,
I'd love to see him in there with someone's going to put it on him a little bit, and not, he's not that easy to get rid of. I don't think he's ever been stopped. And
no, Jojo Diaz. I think that's a good pick because if you're looking at it from the perspective of trying to bring Ryan Garcia along, Jojo Diaz
yeah,
is a handful,
yeah,
but he's not a
absolutely.
massive
Somebody that
puncher.
he should be beaten, but he'll test him,
Yeah, yeah.
And that's, I don't know why they didn't fight. What Garcia pulled out? Do you remember why?
I believe that fight he pulled out of with a hand injury. I may be
Mm,
wrong.
a hand injury, right? Yeah, in
Yeah.
quotations. Did we see the doctor's note on that, Garcia?
No, I think he did a Billy Joe Saunders with that one. Oh, good question. Jordan Anderson. Interesting seeing Ryan Garcia's tattoo progression. Yeah.
Hmm.
For someone who's been dealing with mental health issues, he found the time to get like a new tattoo across his chest.
Did he have a couple of new ones, or was that the one on the chest was the main one?
I don't know. I wasn't really
Yeah,
analysing
I
them
was just,
too tough.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
He does seem a bit fragile, I'll be honest, mentally,
yeah.
a little
I
bit.
think he's one of those guys where you're most likely going to see the fragility outside of the ring. I think when
Mm,
he's in the moment, like the Luke Campbell fight, and his
yeah,
ego's on the line, he's a bit more maybe willing to dig deep. Whereas as soon as he's outside the ring,
yeah. Mm.
he probably doesn't spend enough time in the boxing culture. Not enough time in the gym, school of hard knocks, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a good point. He probably spends more time on the gram,
Yeah, probably
to be
training
honest.
with like these Instagram boxercisers. You get like these. Have you seen them? You get Instagram
Yeah,
pages with like hundreds of thousands of followers, and they do like the flashy Mayweather style mitt work
yeah,
for
of
nothing
course.
else.
It's a massive craze right now. There's
Yeah,
I mean,
because that's not boxing.
no,
Yeah, they may take a couple of boxes on pads in a little co-feature, but
You don't fight like that. There's actually
yeah,
a bird
exactly.
called the Mitt Queen, and
Yeah, that's
she's
the one I'm talking about.
pretty good. Yeah, but it's basically just all flashy pad work, and some of them look like they're pretty good boxers, to be fair,
Mm,
but
yeah.
it doesn't really translate all that well sometimes.
Yeah, realistically, if you're going into like if you're Ryan Garcia and you're now going to start having probably the biggest fights of your career defining fights,
Hmm.
do you really want to be hanging around with people like that? and I understand that's just what we see on social media, but iron sharpens iron. You want to be with other people who are hungry like you are, like a Frank Sanchez, like Canelo
100%,
Alvarez, and so on.
100%. No, it definitely, it's the atmosphere and energy you're around will make you want to do better as well. And you see people working harder, makes you want to work harder, and you got all these champions around you that are doing great things. It should make you want to do great things as well if you're built with that sort of energy. But
Yeah,
there
we go.
Is he? I don't know, bro. I'm just gonna grab some more. I'll be right back.
Yeah, sure thing. Hope you're enjoying this, guys. We're 40 minutes in. It's flying by. Having a good time here. Yeah, pound for pound, agreeing that Jojo Diaz fight is a good next one. I think with Diaz, as I said to Henry, you guys probably heard, Diaz, I think, is a handful. He's got good skills, but he's not the most dangerous guy, It's unlikely he's going to knock you out. He's not a noted puncher, but it'd be a good learning fight. It's still one that Ryan Garcia could lose, but hey, you have to take it in the first place. So yeah, talking about great things and achievements, Gennady Golovkin at 40 years old becoming unified middleweight champion again, or at least, unifying IBF and WBA. What did you make of that?
Bro, I thought it was a great performance, to be honest. I thought it was really tremendous. Like, I think, he looked a bit uncomfortable early on. I think I watched that fight again this morning. I watched it about 3 times, and I was like trying to put it, because he looked really tired really early.
Yeah.
And I was like thinking to myself, why does he look so gassed? I know he was getting a little bit hurt as well, but the tiredness he just had a different look about him straight away. And I can only put it down to the age and inactivity, just the time off. And that, like, when footballers talk about match fitness, it's the same thing in boxing. If you haven't fought, and especially when you get to 40 and you're getting in there, and like your legs might start seizing up, but he weathered the storm, and this just shows you like how good this guy is. He's just an animal. And he was taking some punishment, but then the closer the fight got on the inside, he was getting those hooks around the outs, like that like, I was talking to Pound for Pound on the comments, but that hook, like where he aims for the top of the head.
Yeah.
Wow. He was getting those in a little bit. He's shooting uppercuts. His jab was good. And then, he started to relax a bit more. He started to feel a bit more comfortable. And then he was hitting Murata with bigger shots. And round 6, he caught him with that shot. His mouthpiece came out.
Yeah, it was
he just started to take
like a
over.
boomerang.
Yeah, he just started to take over. But I was like, wow, what great performance, like, guy's a beast, and people can say he looked vulnerable, but I think that fight was really good and what he probably needed. Like, obviously the Derevinchenko fight was pretty tough, but after the inactivity and stuff like that, and if he's going to talk about fighting Canelo, that's a good segue. Might not want to take that many body shots, but I thought he looked great. I thought obviously, well, it was a great performance. Let's just say, for him to dig in like that, and against a game, strong, long, I say powerful. He looked.
He's imposing.
Yeah, in his hometown, and like, to come through that, I was like, fair play. He's far from done. I saw a lot of people saying that Canelo was going to walk through Triple G because of that, and I was like, I don't think so. I'm not saying I would pick Triple G at all, but I don't think Canelo would go charging in like Murata did.
Yeah. That's a good
because
point.
Canelo's a bit more patient, and he's kind of grind you down. But you give Golovkin a few rounds to get into it, like he did, he'll find his groove. And then I don't know, man. That's a fascinating fight now. It's more intriguing than it was before, just because I think people are writing Triple G off a little bit. Not everybody, of course, but
yeah. But I mean, it does seem to be the kind of
Hat Man in the house.
Yeah. Talking about beasts, Hat Man making an appearance. We've got the full set. All the members of the Brotherhoods.
Absolutely.
What
did you make of it, bro? What were your thoughts?
So I have to echo largely what you said. I think I just want to just quickly flag this. I did get my predictions spot on,
Yeah.
so give myself a pat on the back for that.
Nice.
Well, no, the fight. I don't even though I got my prediction right, it didn't pan out the way I thought it would. I didn't think that Murata would be sophisticated enough in terms of his offense because he
Very
really
limited,
doesn't.
isn't he?
Yeah, he's quite limited, but even though he was limited, as many of us predicted, I didn't. He was able to impose himself a lot more than I anticipated.
Yeah.
Because even though Golovkin was landing the jab early, and popping his head back,
Mm.
he just has that samurai spirit, doesn't
Yeah,
he? He
even
stays
later on,
forward.
even when he was like getting a bit, I think it was 5 or 6 when Murata was definitely getting, it looked like the tide was turning, and he looked like not totally dejected, but he was like in a fight. He still then would come forward in a little mini surge. He never
Yeah, yeah. There
really
was
gave
never any
up.
give, and
No.
Golovkin had to beat the fight out of him, and that's
Yeah,
what he did.
yeah.
Because after the sixth round in
Experience
particular,
too, the experience, the power, his just determination too. He kind of broke him a little bit too at one point, but the power shots started landing.
mm,
And he kind of abandoned the body as well, Murata did, didn't he? Because the fight got a bit closer, I think. Because when
yeah,
if Murata's got you in that mid to long range, that's when his shots are better because he's keeping Triple G at the end of his punches. But when it got closer, and then Triple G was pushing him back, it's a great fight. I loved it, man.
yeah. I think this is what Chris said in his pre-fight videos. When you look at Murata on paper, it probably isn't the best win of Golovkin's career. However, when you look at it in the context of Golovkin being 40 and then taking on Murata in his own town, um, it really is a special victory. And in
Yeah.
the manner he did it, because this is what I touched on in my pre-fight videos. For me, the most impressive thing about Golovkin throughout his career, but especially in this fight, is the fact that he has the reputation, or at least he did for many years, as being a boogeyman. He's the one that nobody wanted to fight because he's this skilled, brutal puncher with both hands and just a relentless finisher. He
Mm.
has that reputation, and he knows he has that reputation, yet he's not afraid to dig deep. And he doesn't have that bully mentality like someone like a Sergey Kovalev or a Mike Tyson historically, where they come undone when the heat really gets turned up on them.
Yeah.
Golovkin's there, like
I
he
know.
has an iron chin, but he also has an iron
I
will.
know. That's what makes him so dangerous. It's like you can't just get rid of these guys that easily. Even their breaking point is far, higher. And
Yeah, he's made us something else.
definitely animal.
Um, and I've been saying to one of my friends that I think it's going to be a sad day when Golovkin retires, because it's going to be someone who has like really given the sport his all,
Yeah,
and he's
big
40 years
time.
old and he still continues to give.
Yeah, and he's been willing to fight. Everybody's fought at a very high level for a long time, and a lot of people didn't want to fight him and still haven't fought him. And
Yeah,
he's willing to travel here and travel there. He's just, if every boxer acted like him, we'd have an even better sport.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
It's very it's that special mold of fighter. That.
definitely, definitely.
What do you think Golovkin should do next, or what would you like to see him do next?
Why? I mean, isn't he penciled in for the Triple G trilogy? Is that September? So, but assuming Triple G comes through Bivol, which it's no easy task. Outside of that, I don't know, man. I think he's probably entitled to a routine sort of, maybe a homecoming or something like that. I don't know. I'll watch him whoever he fights. He's put in enough good performances and fought enough good fighters where you can just he's allowed a gimme here and there. Although his last fight was a bit of a gimme, to be fair. But I'm not sure. I'm the Canelo trilogy is more intriguing to me now.
Mm,
Not just because he looked a bit more vulnerable, just because I don't know. Just watching Golovkin again, and you kind of forget about how good he is. He's sort of out of mind sort of thing. But watching him again, it's like, yeah, this guy's a great fighter, and
yeah,
I'd love to see it. I guess the trilogy. for me, because you don't want to see that too far down the line, because he's 40 now. Yeah, I don't want to see that when he's 42. It's got to happen in September, really.
Yeah.
But I don't know. What about you?
Um, I tend to agree. I think after that fight, the Canelo trilogy does have a little bit more intrigue, but
Okay.
I'm famously someone who I'm not a massive fan of like trilogy fights and like quadrilogies and all that
Mm,
stuff. So I'd like to see Golovkin fight maybe a Charlo or
mm.
I don't know, like
They'll
I
probably
think
China will fight him once they'll get him in the ring once they think they can beat him. So
yeah,
maybe they might have
that's a good
saw
point.
maybe they might have saw weaknesses, but then they might think, oh my god, he's still a beast. You know what I mean? They usually fight guys like that when they're like, okay, we can beat this guy now. They'll wait for him to get a bit older. But that's an interesting fight. I can't see Charlo taking that fight though.
Yeah, not
Do you know
right
what I
now.
mean? No way.
Um, well, imagine the fight gets signed tomorrow. Who are you picking? Golovkin versus Chris Eubank Jr.
Golovkin.
You sound confident.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I just like does Chris Eubank Jr. He needs a stationary target to hit the body. From what I remember, right? I mean, he's not like this. Come forward and set his punches up and smash the body with a left hook to the body, right? He's like you need to be standing in front of him. I'd pick Golovkin. His jab, I think he'd finesse him and then bully him and beat him up and probably stop him. I think, but I don't know. That's an interesting one.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know actually. Come to think of it,
it's one of those fights where you can understand how one guy's strengths kind of exploit the other's weaknesses.
yeah.
But then with Chris Eubank Jr., like his combination punch and his work rate, you can envisage how it'd be problematic for uh, Golovkin. But
And
it's
yeah,
like,
and Eubank's durability too, and his chin, and
yeah,
he's a warrior as well. So it could come down to the how old is Eubank Jr. Is
I
he
believe he's 31 now.
okay? I think Golovkin's just got too many tools, in his arsenal. Like
Yeah,
he can box, his jab is, Chris Eubank Jr. has gotten better at boxing, but he I don't know. What do you reckon, Chris Andre Hatman? You reckon Golovkin beats Eubank?
I
G-Man,
think he still
pound for
beats
pound?
Eubank.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
I
Eubank. Well, that would. It's probably good that Eubank never fought Golovkin back in the day
yeah,
when he
oh,
said that, because that'd have been danger, man. He'd have got bullied.
because Eubank could have gone from fighting Nick Blackwell and Tom Duran like
Mm.
earlier the year to then fighting Golovkin. Is like talk about just a jump in
Delusion.
the queue,
Yeah,
like
no.
going from literally one stratosphere of competition to another.
Mm. Yeah, no way. That's too big of a jump.
Okay, so Jimbo in the chat, GGD way too slow and basic at this point. Eubank Jr. will batter him. Okay, interesting.
I don't know about that. I don't know about battering him. He's definitely a lot slower. He's definitely, his movement slowed down a bit, but he's still got that ramrod jab. He's still got the heart. He's still got the power.
Yeah,
I don't know. It is interesting because when that father time takes over, um, that is a fantasy matchup, isn't it?
yeah.
That's
I
the
mean,
kind of fight where they would think, okay, let's wait for Golovkin to get 42 and then we'll take the fight. you know,
yeah,
it'd be a good name on his record, but no, we can only dream.
yeah.
I
Well,
can't see Eubank battering GGG though.
I think Eubank in my mind, the way I see it is Eubank would probably have flashes where he
Mm,
looks like he's really getting to Golovkin, but I
yeah,
just don't think it'd be enough. I think Golovkin he adapts fairly well. He's got a lot of tools, and I think I'm not too convinced by Eubank Jr. Jimbo's has pointed out, Junior's way faster, has a better engine, and has improved slickness under Roy. But I'm not entirely sure that. I don't know about you. I'm not convinced about Eubank Jr.
He does
just
do.
yet.
Sorry, he does make a good point though. He does do better when he's getting pushed on the.
Yeah,
when fighters are coming
but
to him.
to rebuttal that, has Eubank Jr. ever faced a pressure fighter the caliber of Golovkin?
No,
He hasn't.
absolutely no. No, but you're no, definitely not. But you are stepping into your range, and those uppercuts, he'd probably just let them fly. But let's be honest, you're not stopping Triple G to the head.
Yeah,
it seems like if you're going to stop him, it's got to be downstairs. But I don't know. I don't know. I think at the end of the day, he's going to have to take some punishment as well, and taking punishment off Triple G. You don't want to get into sucked into a. I would, God, intriguing though. Yeah, that's a good shout, bro.
Yeah.
Love to see it.
Mr. Relax, shout out to you, my friend. Kelbrook was doing very well against GGG. Yeah,
Well,
he was.
I think, people have said that before, but he broke his eye socket in about the first 20 seconds.
Well,
I know he had his moments. I'm not trying to say that, but if you look back, he was in all types of trouble early. And
yeah, like opening seconds kind of early, I remember that fight pretty vividly.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess he did do well in patches, but he still got thoroughly beaten from the opening bell. He took a massive left hook early, and I think that was when the damage was starting to get done. And then I think Brooke had a good third round and stuff like that. That uppercut is obviously an iconic uppercut on Triple G, but once Triple G started putting the pressure on a lot more and all that forfeit, it was like only one winner.
Yeah, that's it. So Jimbo claims that Junior is better than Derevianchenko and Murata. Well, that's your opinion. If you want to justify it in the chat, be my guest.
That's actually an interesting fight. Derevianchenko and Eubank Jr. That could be a little good because Derevianchenko's been, he's had a few L's recently to people he should have beat. So that could be a good test if Eubank Jr.'s got any aspirations of fighting Golovkin.
Yeah.
Beat Derevianchenko. Well, they'll never make that fight though. But
yeah. Well, I think that's a 50-50 in my opinion. Junior versus Derevianchenko.
The Murata one's that's got war written all over it, isn't it?
Yeah, certainly. I'd probably favour Junior to beat Murata, but just styles make fights,
Yeah, definitely.
Murata, at least if you want to go in terms of legacy, Murata's been a champion.
Yeah.
Junior hasn't, but there's what would you call it? On a technicality, I suppose.
Yeah, it's intriguing.
Chris says, I agree with Outmatch. Personally, I think it would look a bit like the Brooke fight. Eubank having some exciting flurries, but getting broken down. Yeah, he has his strengths, but I just think Golovkin, the long-term quality over the course of the fight would be with Triple G.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, the optics of the fight would make it look like Eubank Jr. is competitive early, but I think he would tire. Maybe. I think
he's got an engine though.
Yeah, he's got good work rate.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay, Jimbo asks, thoughts on Eubank Jr. versus Brooke? It's rumored to be almost done. It will be a 158 catch weight and hydration clause. What do you think of that?
There's a lot of complications in this, isn't it? Like that's 158. Like I personally don't think Brooke is as washed as he is people say he is. That shot that he took against Crawford, that was just one of the weirdest shots, and he came rushing in on it. He twisted his neck to the side. It was just one of those shots that just obviously it looked bad, and it was kind of a hybrid jab, but just when you examine the shot, I was like, wow, that was a weird way to get it, and he rushed in on it, and
yeah, he just doubled the impact.
Like, oh, he's washed, and I was like, well, he looked good against Khan. He looked strong, and stylistically, that is intriguing, isn't it? I can see Brooke outboxing him, out timing him. Eubank's not very good when he goes looking for, when he's trying to flick the jab out. He seems a bit lost sometimes. So, and Brooke's excellent at timing. So I can see Brooke having a lot of winning some early rounds, timing Eubank. But when Eubank goes looking for it, he's like, I forget who said it in the chat. He's far better when a pressure fighter is coming to him. So would Brooke wait there and try and counter him and have some success? I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's a tricky fight.
That is a tricky fight, and not to mention, the catch weight and rehydration.
It adds
and stuff like that.
another element because
Absolutely.
Eubank Jr., I think he's never weighed under what 159.
Yeah, I think he's fought his whole career at 160.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I've seen Chris Eubank Jr. in person a couple of times, and he's got some decent size to him. He's like a solid 5'11". But the thing is, he has like no fat on his body. He's like super lean.
Thing is, though, like Brooke's not gonna really probably be able to really hurt Eubank Jr. I wouldn't have thought.
No,
you never know, but like he's so solid. It's like maybe in the later rounds when Brooke has just tried to time him and is getting some early rounds in the bank. At some point, he's still got this slightly bigger man there, and he's in great shape too, and he can punch a bit too. So I don't know.
Yeah. I don't think it's a good fight for Brooke personally.
I agree.
I think if he was a natural middleweight and he was maybe 5'11" instead of 5'9", and was just a bit bigger, I think I'd give him a much better chance stylistically, because I think he's a bit more competent at long range. He's better coordinated with his straight shots, especially. Whereas Eubank Jr., for my money, still leaves quite a bit to be desired at long range.
I think Brooke would have some success being a little, just like I said, his timing and his cute little moves that he does subtly with his head, and just like being able to time Eubank. But the longer the fight goes on, I think, Chris Andre is saying Junior's too big for Brooke, and that probably might play a part as the fight goes on.
Yeah. I don't think Brooke is completely washed up, but when I was watching the Calm fight, Brooke looked strong, but he looked like, I don't know whether it was just the fact that he was rushing to try and get Khan out, but he looked a little bit like his timing was a bit off, and his range, like he was falling in a bit. As I say, it might just be a symptom of him rushing, but it wasn't he didn't have the precision of the old Brooke.
I mean, did he? I forget when was Brooke's fight before that, because inactivity.
The Crawford fight.
Okay, how long was that? Do you know?
So the Khan fight was in February. The Crawford fight was in November 2020.
Was it a year then, roughly?
Yeah, over a year. Yeah.
So with timing, inactivity, timing gets affected the most. So that could have been part of that.
Yeah.
You just a long time out the ring for somebody that relies on timing.
Yeah, that's a good point. But he did look a lot more solid than I anticipated.
Definitely, he looked strong.
Yeah, he did. I think that's a byproduct of him doing a slow and steady route to 147, or was it 149? The weigh-in limit. Whereas before, for the Crawford fight, he did not look good at the weigh-in. He looked very drawn, very dry, and his eyes had like this weird
too, isn't he?
glass.
The welterweight is he just looks he's looked at like that for a while, where he just looks like, God, not good at that 147. But those extra 2 pounds, he looked like he fitted quite nicely.
Okay, so Jimbo says Brooke's not a welterweight. Brooke is a solid 154-pound guy, and Junior is a big 160 guy. But Brooke walks around heavier than Junior. See,
discipline, though, that's the outside the ring discipline.
Yeah, it's quite simple, because realistically, like, I know Eubank Jr. himself has tried to make this argument about how, oh, Brooke's heavier than me outside the ring, therefore it's an even fight. But realistically, could Junior get down to 147 pounds? I don't think he could.
No,
Not without
he doesn't
being.
have that much body fat at all, does he? He
Yeah,
looks like I can't see him getting down to that weight. But yeah, Brooke just balloons up because he just doesn't appear to be as disciplined or take care of his body as well.
yeah, it's probably a love for the chocolate brownies.
But Brooke looks, honestly, he looks like he just looks like he's relieved, you know. Now he's finally beaten Khan. He's smiling at these interviews. He looks like his energy is a bit more
Yeah,
lifted these days. You know, he doesn't have all these rumors going about or not whatever's going on outside the ring. And you know, he's been in some stabbings and stuff like that. And he's had some issues outside the ring, and it looks like they've just kind of he's let them go a little bit. He looks a bit rejuvenated.
yeah, that's a good point.
Mentally. Yeah.
It's a good boost to his morale.
Yes. Yeah.
Chris saying Brooke is another that, in my honest opinion, still looks good offensively, but again, it's about what he can absorb in return. Eubank has a great chin and engine and can explode with his incessant flurries. Can Brooke absorb that? I don't think Brooke can.
Yeah.
I don't think he'd get completely iced, but I think he'd get severely overwhelmed and probably end up in a similar position as he did in the Crawford fight, you know, just kind of being a bit dazed, but the referee jumping in, that's what I'd see.
Yeah, because he'd have to avoid that for most of the fight, really, wouldn't he? He could probably skirt around and, you know, uses, like I said, his head movement and his range control to avoid that for a bit, but Eubank would at some point get to him with the exchanges, and then when he lands those, how's Brooke gonna deal with those?
Yeah, because you really can't afford to get in an exchange with Eubank, because even though at long range and closing the distance, he's not the greatest. When he trades with you and he throws one of those fastball hooks, you know, he's not the biggest puncher, but he'll catch you with that, and it'll just completely blitz you. You know, that's why. You know, do you remember the Spike O'Sullivan fight? That was such a war, and you could see the way he was able to punch in between O'Sullivan, just completely rattled him.
Wow,
And
the
from there,
Yildirim fight too, like he was just
another one,
ripping him with uppercuts and hooks, and it's like if you get into his zone, or you know you're in exchanges, he's probably going to come off better than you know, especially if he's bigger. And but I can't see Brooke really trying to fight that fight. It's just whether or not Eubank can impose himself and put himself in that position and let his shots go.
Yeah, I think he'd be able to. I don't think Brooke would be able to wrestle on the inside and lock him up enough to get that respite. Chris saying, I'm walking around at heavyweight right now, but I ain't fighting Whyte anytime soon. Chris Andre is a natural heavyweight. He's a naturally big man. Henry, I'm bursting for the toilet.
Yeah.
Could you maybe run the show for a couple of minutes?
I'll do my best, bro. Yeah.
Okay, right. It's all yours.
Yeah, Chris, actually, I wanted to say to you that the interviews that I've got one of them done, so I'll be putting it out tomorrow. I know you commented on that, so that's an interview with a gentleman called Don Saxby, who's a fantastic trainer, unbelievable character, and that interview will go up tomorrow. The audio is a little suspect because I was in the gym and I was trying to get the atmosphere and just the energy and stuff like that. And then, you know, the coast looked clear, and then, you know, people started training and the medicine ball was flying around, the battle ropes were going. So the audio is a little bit of a struggle, but I put the captions and hopefully you enjoy that, but I'll put that up tomorrow. But yeah. Anyway, speaking of like, you're a heavyweight, I'm not too far behind you, bro. I feel like I'm a cruiserweight right now. Jimbo, good show, lads. UK crew. Thoughts on Canelo Bivol and eventually GGG trilogy. Yeah, Canelo Bivol. I'd love to watch a bit more tape on Bivol, but I know Canelo's looks like he's, you know, bulking up, but that is a fascinating, complicated fight. I mean, I think, like, like I said, I have to watch a bit more tape, but like, I don't know if Bivol throws that many uppercuts. You'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, but that could be in Canelo's favor, just because if he's going to come in with that high guard, then Bivol's going to be taller. So I can see him trying to slip in, and Canelo draws you in with his high guard and then loops his hooks round. Is he going to be able to back Bivol up like he did to Kovalev? Bivol's got that nasty 1-2, that sort of European style 1-2. But Canelo's head movement is excellent. So those 1-2s, Canelo's going to see those because Bivol's not the quickest. This is a fascinating fight. I do need to do a little bit more film study because it's intriguing how Canelo's going to approach this. But obviously, Canelo on points.
Canelo on points. Upholding the meme.
Yeah, awesome, Chris, bro. I'll put it out tomorrow, and tomorrow afternoon. I've done the whole video for the most part. I just got to dot the I's and cross the T's, but it's ready to go. But yeah, you're back, Sonny.
Yes, I am.
Awesome. Yeah, we're just talking Canelo Bivol. What are your thoughts on that?
It's a tough one. Mm-hmm. Realistically, I can see how both guys win, but Canelo, he just has so much stacked in his favor, and that's on top of being a very versatile fighter. I don't think Canelo's the best at long range. I don't think he's particularly sophisticated, especially when he's closing the distance on someone. But the thing is, he's consistent. It's not. When you look at the Kovalev fight, he really didn't do much at long range. He'd have his high guard. He'd edge forward a little bit.
He was. Kovalev was using a lot of energy doing that.
Yeah,
Canelo wasn't really. He was just. I've got to watch the fight again, but he wears people out by not throwing punches, and just imposing that psychological pressure. Where he's just looking to take it a little deeper in the fight.
Yeah.
And that can create. I don't think he'll be able to do that as much against Bivol. Bivol looks, obviously Kovalev was not the Kovalev we knew, but Bivol's a big, strong guy.
Yeah, I think Bivol is probably quite a bit more disciplined outside the ring, and therefore his engine's going to be better. Yeah. However, I'm not. When I look at Bivol and I look at Kovalev, both at a similar stage of their career, I think Kovalev had a lot more wrinkles to his game. I think he understands how to set up his shots better. I think his punching mechanics are a bit better, so he probably has a bit more pop in his shots.
Yeah, but he was getting put on the back foot. That's what, like, he was sort of pouring with the jab. That's not.
Yeah.
Kovalev normally comes forward and he stands in on his punches and has a lot more damage because he's going forward and he's, he looked like he was not fighting scared, but like I was
He's very reserved.
Yeah, but Bivol, who's going to be able to push who back? That's always a fascinating one. When someone like as small as, I say small, but Canelo's height and natural weight, where he's coming up from 147? Did it 154? Did Canelo start out?
I believe Canelo started at 147 because he was like 15 when he turned pro.
Yeah,
so he's gone through the weights.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to watch a bit more tape on, refresh my memory a little bit, because Bivol, the only time I've seen him hurt, Joe Smith hurt him.
But that was on the bell. So
yeah, it was, but it was and it was also, he's a big light heavyweight,
Yeah, he's massive. He's huge.
Canelo, he's a power punching heavyweight, light heavyweight too. So can Canelo hurt him? Probably not. Maybe, I don't know.
I don't know. Because as highlight reel or knockout as it was, that Canelo scored over Sergey Kovalev had been out the ring for what was it, less than 3 months, because he fought Yard on the, when was that, the 24th.
He probably had a few vodkas after that fight as well.
Yeah, I mean, he'd need it to numb the pain, I imagine.
Yeah, but he looked a bit more frail than we used to seeing,
Yeah, exactly. That was it. Jimbo making a good point. I'm not sure why Canelo took this fight. Bivol was a very difficult fight, and he's not a big star, so fans won't give him a ton of credit. And that's why you have to give even more credit to Canelo if you're a fan that's in the know, because you understand that this is a real legacy fight when you look at it. This isn't a gimme fight. It's not a money spinner, really.
Well, yeah, and if they're saying that Canelo is going to end up trying to fight, one of the bigger, like Better Biev or Joe Smith, or he's I think he's gunning for the belts, bro. He's gunning for legacy, and this is just an introduction to a real light heavyweight, and he's going to have to take fights like this to be able to deal with the other fights if that's where he wants to go.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Chris Andre just adding, Prime Kovalev was a Hall of Fame level fighter. I
Yeah,
agree.
absolutely.
But I think he was way past his best when he fought Canelo. Yeah,
sure.
I also agree.
Yeah.
The current Bivol is better than Kovalev. Yeah, I think in terms of what would you say, condition and miles on the clock, Bivol's in a much better state, and sharpness. But I do think if you look at it from a technical point of view, a prime Kovalev just, as I say, had a few more wrinkles to his game, had a bit more of an extensive boxing IQ. That's just my opinion,
Yeah,
based on
I agree with that for sure. He really knew how to use that jab and that right hand. Just ask Andre
Yeah.
Ward about that. Like he was vicious with that right hand. Was ridiculous. His jab was like a power jab. Just you've seen him drop plenty of guys with his jab, from what I remember.
That's it was a real formidable weapon, because it
Yeah.
was literally like you have to worry about both sides, because Kovalev will use the right to set up the left, he'll use the left to set up the right.
Yeah, and he didn't have that classic Eastern European style either. He had definitely a bit of an American style. Obviously he came over
I
here a
think
bit.
you could see the backbone of it was very Eastern.
Definitely, it was a hybrid of it for sure. You could tell he had that, and then when he came over, and then he was with Buddy McGirt for a little bit, but pre to that, he definitely had a bit of a hybrid.
Yeah, I mean that's good. You want to add that kind of culture to
Yeah,
your
for sure.
style. Okay, Chris just clarifying. I meant he was better than Kovalev that fought Canelo. Yeah, of course. I think we're all pretty unanimous. But prime for prime, Kovalev is better. Okay. So I just want to kind of get the show moving again. I think we've been sidelined by the chat questions. One last fight from the weekend, Fundora versus Lubin. I know you said you didn't see too much of it.
I was switching back and forth. But then I read a little bit about it. But that Fundora, I haven't watched that much from him. He looks like a nightmare to deal with. Like he just comes. He reminds me of a little bit of Paul Williams.
I think the same thing.
Yeah, just like a volume puncher, just very courageous. Lubin just sort of dispensed with his jab a little bit, and then he got stuck fighting. He got told off from Kevin Cunningham. He's like, "What are you doing?" Because he started to fight him on the inside, and you got with someone like that. I mean, you're probably going to come off second best, but he ended up hurting him. What was it, the 7th or 8th round, or something like that? Lubin hurt him back, and it was just
I think
like
it was the 6th, but
it
around the mid rounds.
Yeah, I can't really comment that much because I was switching back and forth from all these different fights, and but from what I saw, I was like, how in the world is this? Like, he looks so much smaller than him, obviously, just height wise, but his length and his reach. And Fundora is a fun fighter, and he's just got this like pleasant charm about him. After the fight, he's just like smiling and happy, and that's a dangerous fighter, someone that's like so mentally healthy like that, and he has all those like just limbs flying from everywhere, and he's obviously got an engine, and he's obviously got a lot of heart. That's a tough fight. I was thinking him and Tim Tszyu would be an absolute war.
I'd favour Tim Tszyu.
Yeah, I would too. Slightly.
Yeah, so I watched quite a bit of the Fundora Lubin fight. I had a terrible copy, and it was like really fuzzy, but I managed to watch some of it. As I say, I agree with your assessment of Fundora, where he looks reminiscent of Paul Williams at times. You know, the tall southpaw. The
Yeah.
only thing is, I think Paul Williams was a bit more competent at long range. Fundora looks like he likes to get stuck in quite a bit because he really doesn't do much at long range. He kind of just marches forward a lot of the time, and
Williams used to
you
do
have to
that.
give him credit.
Williams used to just come in, like he did. You know, he just used to just like negate his height a little bit and just walk in with a barrage of combinations. It was just so fun to
Yeah,
watch.
but
It's a
like sickening
nightmare.
combinations.
Yeah, nightmare for like just dealing with that style. It looks like an absolute nightmare, you know.
Yeah, I don't think Fundora's the most defensive minded. I
No.
believe he probably sees himself as a bit of an offensive powerhouse, and I
But
think that's
that is
certainly
his, sorry, mate. I didn't mean to cut you off. That is his defense, isn't it?
yeah. Like he'll come on the inside, and to give him credit, like for a guy of his dimensions,
Mm,
he has some pretty tight shots,
yeah,
and he can string them together in combination. But you'd like to see a bit more defensive responsibility and
sure.
not to completely negate his height advantage because he won't be able to fight everyone like that.
Yeah, that was always like, you know, I remember a few people or reading about Paul Williams. That was always a criticism for him, is like he doesn't fight tall or doesn't fight behind his jab anywhere near as much, because when you got a massive height and reach advantage, you should be using it, a little bit more. Because just imagine if Fundora was just standing up and just jabbing, like, I don't know. I need to watch him a bit more, but like it does seem to negate some of his other advantages. But then again,
Yeah.
his offense is his defense, and it's just having that to deal with must be a nightmare.
Yeah, it's really quite absurd when you consider that he's what, a half inch shorter than Joshua, but however many weight classes below him. It's
Crazy.
bizarre. Yeah, it's freakish,
Yeah.
for lack of a better term.
I'm looking forward to watching him more. Actually, now he's kind of a bit more on my radar, because I knew about him, but that's the first time I've watched more than a round or two.
Yeah.
Be interesting. 154 division's heating up a little bit. It was a bit stale for a bit, but looks like it's coming alive.
Yeah. That's a good point. But I think with Fundora, he has a kind of frame where could we see another light middleweight go up to light heavyweight potentially, something like that if he puts on the mass well and carries it well.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just got the weirdest body type, isn't it? Is it?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I thought I was lanky, but this
yeah,
guy
I
makes
mean,
me look
it's
like
just
Tyson.
crazy, isn't it? I'm sure he probably could go up a little bit, but then
Yeah.
how big? I don't know. How naturally strong is he?
Yeah, that's true. For a big guy, I think Lubin was able to kind of outstrength him at
Fighting
points.
him a little bit, wasn't he? Definitely
Yeah.
outfit him at times.
So I mean, yeah, forget about moving up a weight class. He's actually got to, we've got to see how good he is because
Yeah.
Lubin, I don't know about you, but I've never been the greatest kind of.
I've
I've never
always,
really thought too highly of Lubin.
I've always thought he was a good fighter, but I didn't. I think you find out really when people get tested, and obviously he got knocked out against Charlo in the first round, and that can happen to anybody. So we're like, all right, well, how good is he? And did you see
Yeah,
his face after the fight?
he looked like
Bro,
John Merrick,
that was, that was
Elephant Man.
that was a pretty horrific look on
Yeah,
Lubin. Like his face just looked mashed.
it was. He was unrecognizable
Yeah.
afterwards. Okay, so I feel like we've touched on this fight. Do you have anything to add, or we can move on to?
No. To be honest, I actually would like to. I'm probably maybe this afternoon I'll watch that fight in its entirety, because I want to get to know a bit more about these guys, or especially Fondora. So yeah, but for now, that's
Yeah.
it.
Okay. I guess it makes sense to start with the big one coming up this Saturday: Errol Spence versus
Mm.
Yordenis Ugas. I'll let
Good.
you take the stage on this one first.
Wow, look, it's like I've just been watching Spence's eye. I'm borderline obsessed with, like, is it like what is going on with his eye? Because I swear, and we're being told it's his left eye, right? That's what everyone's saying. It's his left eye, but it's like, is it? I think it's his right eye. I can't help but I've seen some interviews when there's like this just discoloration that appears, and it's like kind of shiny, and I'm like, I'm hearing professional boxers like Paulie Malignaggi was saying how severe a retina injury is. It could take a year to heal. He's already spoken about his post car accident thoughts. And did you hear what Hatman's video about?
The PTSD.
Yeah, that is like, what's the last place you want to be in a boxing ring? And on the Garcia fight, gonna get a bit conspiratory here, but like, a conspiracy theorist.
Go for it.
Okay,
I'm not monetized. It doesn't matter.
No, it's nothing crazy, but like, I've watched that fight at least 3 or 4 times. Spence did not look anywhere near as strong as he normally does. His back muscles weren't the same.
Yeah,
but
he looked very noticeably slimmer in that fight.
Absolutely, slim is a good word. But fun fact, really, Garcia's punch connection was the all-time low. Okay, it's like something like 17%. And you got Spence was like walking him down a bit, and Garcia's he looked like he was pulling some of his punches. It just really did not. I couldn't make out that performance. So that wasn't a good test for me. Spence does look a bit stronger. I saw him on the pads and that. I don't know if you've been watching that Showtime. All Access has been great. I really enjoyed that. He looks a bit stronger, but like something I just can't help but think that he's not exactly the same. So, what's going to happen when you've got this strong, determined? Because Ugas looks physically strong. He's not obviously as big of a puncher as Spence, but he can punch a little bit. But like he's got a good base, and he's obviously going to fire back. But one thing, I just did a video about this, and one thing Ugas does, which Erislandy Lara used to do as well, is they do the high guard, and then they'll lean their torso forward, right, and bringing their elbows down, which essentially puts the body what looks like it's further back, or it's harder to target when you're crouching over. So with Spence, who likes to target the body, I think Spence is going to have a slightly harder time getting his work done on the inside. And even if he does, Ugas is great at firing back on the inside too. So I think the battle could be won and lost there. And I think obviously they both got good jabs. Spencer's got a great jab. Ugas's range control is really good. Will he be able to neutralize Spence coming in? Because Porter took away Spence's jab a little bit. If you watch that, it is an intriguing fight. But my question is, like, if you'd have said, is this the Spence from pre-crash? I'd have picked Spence straight away. But I'm actually leaning towards Ugas, to be honest with you. Like, I think he's going to be able to neutralize Spence's body work a little bit. It's like, when you have a good player on the field like Ronaldo, or let's say football, and teams try to do what they can to minimize that player. You can never stop them from doing what they do, but you can certainly minimize them. And if Ugas can minimize Spence's body work and control his jab a little bit and get his work off and come back with some good shots, and then it's how much psychological damage is that going to cause Spence when he's got a real dude hitting him back quite repeatedly. So I'm going to pick Ugas on like a split or a majority, excuse me, but it's intriguing. What about you?
Okay, I'm going to ask, are you reading my mind? Because I've been thinking the same thing.
Oh, really?
Is it Ugas split decision?
Yeah.
I don't think, regardless of who wins, I think it's going to be close. I think it's a Spence split decision or an Ugas split decision. I can't. If someone's going to get stopped, I think it will be Spence.
I said that
just
too.
Because I imagine that if that eye goes,
yeah,
I think if that eye goes and he just gets hit on the right place, I think he just turns his back.
I said I wouldn't be totally shocked if Spence got stopped.
Calls it a day. I don't think there's going to be like a big knockout either way, though.
No, me too.
But yeah, I'm favouring Ugas, like I want to say 55-45, because Ugas, he's a strange fighter. Like, he has a very peculiar style
Mm.
because he fights well at long range. He controls the distance quite well,
Mm-hmm.
but he doesn't. When you look at his stance, he often has his arms and his hands quite close to his
Yeah,
body. He doesn't look to extend himself too much,
yeah.
and it's almost like he kind of lulls you into a false sense of security to think that, okay, he's not extending himself, I can advance on him,
Mm-hmm.
and then he just rips like these pretty sharp counters, usually to the body.
The body, absolutely.
And I think Ugas is probably, I mean, I don't know this, but just based on what I've seen, I think he's probably the physically strongest, most physical fighter in at welterweight. I think. Um,
Well, he was out. He was able to, out physical Sean Porter at times.
yeah,
And that
exactly.
says a lot.
And I think just in terms of like raw physical strength, he's probably the strongest. Not that he's the biggest puncher, but I
Right.
think I think at times he's going to be the one looking to advance on Errol Spence. And I think we're going to see Spence, I don't know, probably spend a few rounds moving around,
You think so?
laterally.
You think he's going to
Probably,
back him up?
yeah, yeah. I'm going to
Interesting.
have to look a bit deeper though, because I think there's so much to this fight. I think these two are really close, and as you said, pre-crash, I think
Mm.
it's even closer.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't fill you with confidence at all when you consider what Spencer's gone through.
Not at all. Not at all. And like I said, I've been like I've watched so many interviews where I'm just like, I see the same discoloration around his right eye that goes from here to here, and it looks like shiny. And I'm sure like he's obviously had an operation there, so maybe it's fine. But those are two serious things to happen to you, and then to go into a boxing ring and take punches from a world champion.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
historically, how many fighters have we seen who have retinal damage or detached retinas, and that's it? That's their career done and dusted.
Yeah.
It's quite a few. It's
Well,
often.
actually, like one that comes to mind, I don't know if it was a retina thing, but Margarito, after the Pacquiao fight, there was like his eye damage, right? And I remember watching HBO 24/7 when that show was on, and it's just his eye looked like a little off, and
Yeah.
I was like, that's not good, man. And then he got, his eye ended up flaring up, and it's, I don't think that injury just goes away.
No,
Maybe
it's
I'm not a doctor, obviously, but like those two injuries are shocking back to
I mean,
back. And like I said, the
realistically, it's like,
Garcia fight was a tale for me. Sorry, bro, I didn't mean to jump in, but
no,
the Garcia fight was suspect. Let me just say that.
yeah, yeah. I'm going to check that one out again because it's been it's been a long time since I don't think I've watched that fight since, and that was back in December
Yeah,
2020. So
there are sometimes some things where Garcia is doing, but there's sometimes I'm like, what are you doing?
yeah, it was a
What are
very
these punches
puzzling
you're throwing?
performance.
Yeah, and then statistically, 17%. I'm like, what? When you got like, what are you doing, bro?
Yeah, I mean, I think Garcia has seen better days, and Ugas not only brings a different style, but he brings maybe a bit more ambition. He's kind
Definitely.
of riding the crest of a wave
Yeah.
after being
He is.
Pacquiao.
No, he is. It's a great point, and that's part of the story too. Is Ugas is on a flying
Yeah,
roll right now, and he looks confident, and he's just always like smiling and bubbling. He's got a great coach, Ishmael Salas,
yeah.
a
Salas is
great trainer.
underrated gem. He is.
Yeah, he and they have fought like Cubans. I don't know whether they just teach people to fight southpaw or stuff like that, but they have seen an awful lot of southpaws, and he's
Yeah,
fought
Spence.
he's fought a few
Spence isn't the
southpaws.
most tricky southpaw. He doesn't
No,
really. He's not awkward.
he's
He's
very
quite.
very methodical.
Yeah,
Comes to like chop the tree down. He's got a few subtle little foot movements here and there, but he's Ugas will have faced many more tricky southpaws than Spence.
yeah.
Maybe not as
So
strong.
it's settled then. Are we both going for Ugas split
Yeah,
decision?
I'd say a split or a majority, probably.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely going to
It's
be.
in Texas though, so fights in Texas. They were definitely
That
known
throws a
for
spanner in the works.
it. Does, but hopefully, even if like we'll be able to see and react to it if it's it's kind of like that Jacobs Ryder fight where it's like we kind of know pretty much who won that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because that's what I predicted for the Ugas Pacquiao fight. I said in my pre-fight video that I anticipate that Ugas will win, and
but they
people
might
feel
give
like he wins, but
I said the
Pacquiao
same
gets a
thing.
nod.
Absolutely, but luckily they gave it to Ugas. So
Yeah, it was surprising actually. It was like, oh,
yeah.
I thought you guys were going to rob him.
Yeah, but Pacquiao, once he's out the front door, I guess they can't, I think his duty with boxing was done then, isn't it? Maybe that was in the script. Who knows?
Yeah. Okay, so I feel like we've settled that fight. Conor Benn versus Van Heerden. You got anything to say on that one?
When this fight got announced, I kind of nah, when same with the Algeria, I was like, nah. And then I got a bit more interested and I thought Algeria might have a bit more than I thought. And then, he got brutally
Flattened.
stopped.
Yeah.
Van Heerden, I was like, nah, to begin with. Then I was like, you know what? He's quite crafty. It's good experience for Ben to get a southpaw. I get why they're fighting him now. He hasn't ever fought a southpaw. He's, I guess you could say he's somewhat of a name. It's like to some degree. I know he made a name for himself sparring McGregor, and he's fought Boots Ennis. I don't know if you've seen that fight, bro, but my goodness, Boots Ennis was absolutely like putting it on him.
I saw the highlights for that one.
It's that fight. I mean, it ended up in a accidental headbutt, but like that fight was only going one way in the next couple of rounds. And Boots, like, Conor Benn, I think he might, if anything, Van Heerden might cause him a couple of little tricky problems early on and maybe sneak a couple of rounds in. But I can't see. I would expect Ben to get the stoppage. I would, if he's coming forward and he's maybe not, maybe later on. Like, I just don't know how ambitious Van Heerden's going to be. He hasn't really beat anybody. If you look at his record, it's like, do you really want to see a crafty southpaw just survive? I don't really want to see that. So we'll see if Conor Benn can do what Boots did and actually put it on him and just let his hands go and really hurt Van Heerden early. But it's not a fight I'm like tremendously excited about. I was going to make a video about it, but maybe I will tomorrow. But I'd expect Ben to get the experience from fighting a southpaw, and he's had the training camp with fighting southpaws. That's a good thing. He's all experienced being a pro, so I see what they're doing. They need to get this experience with him sooner or later. So,
yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I agree with those sentiments. I was kind of like, is this really a step up? I think I don't see it as a step up. I see it as just kind of being on par with the level of opposition he's had recently. I think if you put a gun to my head, I mean, I'm pretty confident that Ben wins. But I don't know if he could stop Van Heerden. I think if he does, it'd probably come late. I'd be very surprised if he stopped him in the middle of the fight or in the early rounds.
I would too. I think he's going to have maybe a couple of tricky moments because Van Heerden is tricky. He's definitely been around the ring and he's southpaw and moves quite well. He's quite negative. So if Ben gets a bit frustrated early, he's going to have to be patient. And just the crowd's probably going to want him to knock him out, and he's going to have all that pressure and stuff. So Ben's going to have to poise himself a little bit and try to just not get too gunning looking for the KO. Because obviously, I'm sure he's seen that Boots performance as well and thinking, I can do that. But don't get sucked into those southpaw tricks because they can draw you in and hypnotize you a little bit.
Well. I don't think Van Heerden can be any more negative than Granados because that was really a horrible fight to watch.
Awful, bro. Yeah, I was going to bring that up. I was like, we don't want to see that, because Ben's stock is going up and up and up, and it's like you got to be careful with what matchups you make. If you don't want too many, obviously you can't have knockout after knockout. But it's a good learning fight for him if he can, get what he can out of fighting southpaws, and if he can knock out Van Herden, then I'd expect him to. Be honest. I would expect him to at this point. Van Herden's how old is he? He's late 30s, I think.
Yeah, mid to late 30s, I believe.
Let me check that out. But yeah, I'd expect a good win. Maybe, like I said, some early trouble from Van Herden. He's 34. I thought he was older than that.
Yeah, I thought he was at least 36.
He looks a lot older. Like I was watching a couple of his earlier fights this morning, and I was like, oh, okay, actually, he's got something about him. But then I looked at what year that was, and it was back in like 2015.
Yeah.
All right, this is 7 years later. He did not look like, if you look at the Boots fight, he doesn't look 34. So I don't know. It's also a big stage for him. Van Herden hasn't fought on a card like this in London. How's he going to deal with that?
Yeah, it's I don't see it as being like the most entertaining fight, but I can understand why Conor Ben's having this fight, because it's better to have a fight like this compared to no fight at all.
Sure. Sure, definitely.
Yeah.
And so experience with fighting a southpaw will be valuable in his later career,
Yeah, it's an investment fight. Yeah, for down the line. Can I press you for a formal prediction on this one then?
The Ben one?
Yeah.
I want to go with a late stoppage, 10 or 11.
Yeah.
9 to 11, something like that.
Yeah, I feel pretty confident. Ben's definitely going to win this one.
Yeah.
I am inclined to say a 10th round stoppage as well. But I'm going to check this one out. I'm going to have a look at Van Heerden's most recent fight.
Well, his most recent fight was against Boots Ennis, bro.
Yeah.
He was getting beaten up badly, bro. He was getting whooped, as they say.
Yeah. But I think Ennis is quite a bit different to Conor Ben.
Absolutely. No, of course. I'm certainly not comparing
Conor
them.
Conor Ben's a tiny man.
You might want to go a couple of fights prior to that. In fact, I tried to find the fight before Ennis. I couldn't find it, so I had to go back. That's why I was like, where is Van Heerden now? Because it's hard to gauge it, really.
Yeah.
The Boots one is, throw that out the window because it's Boots, and also he took that on a 2-week notice as well. Van Heerden did. So
right.
I don't think he'd have won that fight if Boots was on a 2-year layoff without training one day. But I don't know where Van Heerden is in terms of physically and from an activity point of view. It's one round in a couple of years, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Ben should absolutely win though.
Yeah, I think that's the safe bet. So okay. So we've covered last weekend's boxing. We've spoken about Fury and Whyte a little bit, and of course this weekend's boxing. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Did we cover Fury Whyte? I thought we were going to cover the actual fight. But yeah, no, we did that.
Oh, I mean, we can if you want.
Yeah, briefly. Well, yeah, because I wouldn't mind touching on it because I'm curious of your thoughts on the actual outcome. I know we talked about the mental games, but just really quickly, I think it's what's interesting is how the catch and shoot is going to play a part. Obviously, like I watched the Whyte Joshua fight, and the way Joshua he threw in quite a hard shot, and Whyte was able to hold his gloves up, take the shot, and then shoot back. And I'm just wondering, if he can do it with AJ, he's going to be able to not necessarily catch Fury with that catch and shoot, but that is going to be a big part of it. Is a Fury, are they going to goad him into it and try and touch him and then come back and shoot over the top? Is Fury going to come in a little bit lighter so he's better on his feet so he can do that? Is he going to bulldoze him? I personally think I know I did mention that earlier, but I think I wanted to just touch on potential Whyte tactics as well, because if what do you think about the Whyte? Do you think he's gonna? You think it's gonna be a war? Actually, no, we did talk about this. My memory's going, bro. My memory is going.
Yeah, I think I do think this is going to be, regardless of who wins, I think it is going to be a real good back and forth.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it hinges on, in terms of how the fight pans out. I think it's going to be based on how Fury approaches it, seeing as he's the one who
Agreed.
is kind of
Agreed.
renowned for versatility.
Absolutely
But
agreed on that. Yeah.
just talking about Whyte's catch and shoot, because that's one weapon of many that he has. But it is particularly interesting because you see why Fury, he's not the most tidy puncher. He does have a tendency to loop, and
Yeah.
that's the last thing you want to do is loop that right hand and basically take the long route to landing it. And then Whyte's got that left hook loaded and just turns it over. So
Yeah, I think Fury's height and reach and range will be an issue for Whyte if he's trying to, like, I think they're gonna know, Fury's camp are gonna know about this catch and shoot, and they're gonna play on it and maybe even pour with the jab. I don't know, man. It's really fascinating. But you mentioned Whyte had loads of like other arsenal. What else is? I know he's got a decent jab, but what I think what Whyte does is like he can go to like this fight or flight mode really quickly, you know, and he makes like a lot of errors when he goes into that mode, you know, puts his head down and starts throwing bombs, and his shape gets a bit lost.
yeah,
And I'm wondering if they're going to be able to draw him in to do that. Interesting.
yeah. See, that's the thing is when you look at Whyte, it's easy to look at him and say this guy's not very skilled because of the way it looks. Like he really does have terrible coordination, especially with his legs. With his
Well,
hands,
what did Hatman call that big right hand? It's like a cricket ball.
yeah, he's like he's
He just
is
throws
it
it like
Ivy
this,
League?
absolutely out of nowhere, man. I mean, like he telegraphs that so badly.
Yeah, but I don't think it's because of poor technique per se. I think it's just if you look at the levers, like Dylan Whyte is just all arms and legs. And from a physics, like biomechanical point of view, it's just not really feasible for him to really tighten his shots up that much. I mean, he does a good job.
Interesting. Yeah, I know. That's an interesting biomechanics take. I know that's your specialty, and that's yeah, an interesting point.
Because yeah, it's just like some things are just unavoidable. It's like with Tyson Fury, who's what 6'9", you can't necessarily expect him to be as coordinated as someone who's 5'9". It just gets to a point where it doesn't carry over. But with Whyte, obviously, he's only what 6'3", 6'4", but something tells me that he's
difference in height. Sorry, mate, that's a big difference.
yeah.
Inches.
But what's the difference in reach? Because Dylan Whyte he's got those freakishly long arms and he knows how to use them. He's quite educated when you look at the positioning of his guards, his shot selection. But it is his feet that seem to let him down.
Yeah, it's that kickboxing sort of upright, rigidish at times.
I mean, I've pointed out a couple of times that I think Dylan Whyte's posture in terms of the way he stands and therefore the way he's in his boxing stance, probably a lot of it to do with how he trains, with the weights and how his physique is influencing his posture. Maybe that's affecting his movement quality, because I don't know if you've seen the video from, when was it, 2011 maybe, when he was on the pads with Chris Oka, and he was much better coordinated, and he was also like a lot slimmer. It's an old video, as I say, it's like over 10 years old, but Dylan Whyte looks completely different. But as he's gotten older and gotten heavier, his technique has gotten worse.
Yeah.
It's strange, and I think his weight has something to do with that.
Yeah, well, interesting, bro. That's like, I didn't mean to cover that again. I know we did it already, but yeah, it is interesting. We've got some interesting fights coming up for sure.
Yeah, I seriously, I can't wait for Fury versus Whyte.
Yeah, me too.
It's just, I mean, I'm glad that it's happening at Wembley. Packing out Wembley. It's an event that I think we need. you know, to
Definitely.
really give boxing another boost, because we had it a little bit with Joshua versus Usyk, another big event, but this one, you know, two Brits fighting for the heavyweight championship,
Yeah,
or at least a portion of it.
big deal, big
It
fight,
is.
big event.
I'm buzzing. I cannot
Me
wait.
too, bro. Me too.
So
But yeah, well, look, thank you very much for having me on, bro. I'm gonna go and grab a bite to eat, and then maybe do this Ben Van Hidden video later on.
well, it's my pleasure. Thank you for joining me. It's
Man.
good to
Thank
have
you so much, bro.
one of the
Definitely.
brothers on. And do you just want to plug your channel maybe for the people who watch this back? Because I usually get about 100 viewers.
Yeah, just Boxing on the Edge. I'm covering a lot of fight predictions at the moment. I'm about to go in and do more punch technique. I've got like I've just moved like area, so I don't have the access like I used to, but I'm going to be breaking down punches again and going back to the gym. I've got more interviews coming with some really top level trainers that I'll be dropping one tomorrow, and more of that stuff, and just more videos, more boxing videos on a weekly basis. And just, yeah, I'm excited, man. There's a lot of good stuff coming up. So
That's it.
and
There's
Boxing
a
on the
lot in
Edge
store.
11 at Instagram, or at Boxing on the Edge 11, and then at Boxing on the Edge for Twitter if you want to follow me on those two.
Okay. All right. So yeah, to anybody who watches this back, if you're not subscribed to Boxing on the Edge, do it now. It's the most authentic and genuine boxing channel. Honestly, the production value,
Thank
the
you.
authenticity is so uniquely yours. So
Bro.
yeah,
I really
it
appreciate
really
it.
is a valuable channel. So I
Likewise,
implore
bro.
everyone to subscribe.
Thank you so much, bro. I
It's all right.
appreciate
You can send me the check later on.
that. Yeah, just send me your Skype details, bro. I'll load the payment up. No problem.
Okay, I'll be ready and waiting. All right. Well, thank you, Henry. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, bro. Have a good day, Sonny.
That's it. And you, man. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Likewise, bro. Take care.
And you.